Hello, hello, hello. This is Humanity Chats with Margie. We're here. We're back. We. Oh, look, I lost track of what I was about to say. Yes, this is Humanity Chats with Margie. We come to you on Thursdays to talk about everyday issues that impact humans. Today, we're going to be talking about healthy eating. With the kids going back to school, I guess people are ready to hear that. Now, my name is Margie Marge. I am your hostess with the mostest. Thanks to our YouTube viewers for tuning in. Hey, Facebook, welcome to our podcast listeners over 300 cities. Thanks, guys, for coming back week after week. We do this because of you. You tell us the topics that you want to hear, and we bring it to you. So remember, you can always go on margiemarge.com, contact us, tell us what you'd like to hear us discuss, and we will do our best to find you the speakers. Or if you have speakers that you want to recommend, why not recommend them to us, and we will bring you everyday conversations. Today, we have a guest who is a dietitian. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her. Stacey. Where is Stacey? I'm trying to get her to pull up so I can read that bio to you guys. Okay, Stacey Woodson, MSRDLDN. Yes, she is a dietitian, nutritionist, food activist, and an entrepreneur. She is a counselor, speaker, and author on the topics of nutrition and wellness. She loves teaching children about healthy eating and introducing them to new foods. Ooh, we would love that. She also has a passion for representing and affirming children of color, which inspired her to start a clothing line named Melanated Magic Tees. Stacey enjoys gardening, foraging, yoga, and spending time in nature. Delicious and nutritious, The Princess of Picky Eating Tries New Foods is the first book in her series. Oh, Stacey has a book too. Looks like we have two authors today. Well, that book was inspired by and loosely based on her children. Stacey lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania with her husband, three children, and her cat. Wow. It sounds like Stacey is a fun person, and I cannot wait to bring her out of the green room so that we can all get to learn from her. You know, children tend to be picky eaters. And so I'm curious what Stacey's going to tell us, what her advice is going to be to get those kids to eat the food. Maybe we're going to be having colorful plates. I don't know. But if you're here, if you're watching, share this link with your network, because I bet it's not just kids who need to learn healthy eating habits. As adults could also use those tips. And so, without much further ado, let us bring Stacey into the house. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, Stacey, it is good seeing you. I enjoyed learning a little bit about you from your bio.
Yes. So I love all things natural. I guess that's the the easiest thing to say.
Well, I can tell because I'm loving your hair too.
Oh, yes.
Black girl magic.
Absolutely.
I know you're an author, but I cannot wait to hear also about your t-shirts.
Ah, so the t-shirts were first. So I'm a baby author. I just became an author in the fall of 2020. So the t-shirts really were all of my entrepreneurial avenues were inspired by my children. So you would see faces on clothing, and they just didn't look like my children. And they'd want them, whether it's princess stuff or whatever it was. Nothing against Frozen and all those things, but it doesn't represent our children. And so I would find, in especially my friend group, whenever we would see images of brown children on shirts, we'd be like, oh, where is it? Oh, we're running to this store and we're running to that store to get it. And I'm thinking, why are we giving these big box companies our money when we could do this ourselves? And that's kind of how it was born. So my t-shirt line was initially just for children. And so it would have, little girls with Afro puffs or boys with their fro, just to affirm them. And my first logo said like smart girls rock and smart boys rock. It had the little brown face. And then I went on to make some other ones like little melanated kids with what do you call it, superhero type gear with like their capes, and it says brilliance is superpower. And then I got into making adult stuff. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Well, I like the whole idea. I and August is Black Business Month. And so, hey, viewers, listeners, if you're here for Stacey, now remember that you can find out more about her and purchase her stuff, support her small business. I love seeing little kids wearing empowering messages on their t-shirts and on their book bags, and so who knows, you may be able to expand beyond those shirts. You could maybe even get into how like they have these folders and journals and all
Mm-hmm.
those things. Yeah, melanate everything.
I'm with you. It's amazing to watch my children's narrative, which is so different than some other children that don't have these images readily available. And they're so proud of their hair and their melanin, and they are just, I call them free. We're a homeschooling family as well. These free, wild, proud children. So it's amazing to be a part of that.
Well, good to hear. Good to hear. I'm that girl who likes to. I have these earrings that I wear a lot. If you go on my socials, it says melanin popping. Um, and then sometimes I wear my Black Girl Magic. So I'm with you. Representation matters. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
Now, this is a short conversation, but before we get into the meat of the conversation, I would like to know some fun things about you, which I would not find in your bio. So, spill.
Some fun things about me.
Yes, ma'am.
I love the beach. I'm an absolute beach bum. Um, what else is fun? I My favorite adult cocktail is a dark and stormy. So if you're not familiar, that's a Bermuda favorite. Um, I have a cat named Ocean, and Ocean is named Ocean because in the beginning of the pandemic, we found him outside. He was a kitten, and his eyes were blue. It was this captivating blue. So we're just like, yes, let's adopt him. He's got blue eyes. And then we adopted him, and his eyes changed colors. So we learned that it's very common for kittens to have blue eyes, and then they change colors. So Ocean's eyes are no longer blue, but his name is still Ocean.
Wow. Well, so listeners, viewers, you've learned a few secrets about Stacy. Yes, yeah. Now, are you from the islands? Because you said something about Bermuda.
No, I'm not from the islands. No, I just the Dark and Stormy is a classic in Bermuda. I did happen. Here's another thing. I happened to get married in Bermuda.
Oh, fancy, fancy. I like to see pictures of destination weddings. I'm an author too, and my second book, Same Elephants, has a destination wedding in Hawaii in there.
Mhm.
So yeah, 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 yeah. I wasn't lucky to have a, well, I shouldn't say lucky. I loved my marriage too. But whenever I see people going for destination weddings, I'm like, oh, that's so fancy. So yes, congratulations. Although it's been several years since you got married, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Well, Stacey, so healthy eating habits for children. We all know that sometimes we feel like kids should eat whatever they want. So, what do you mean by healthy eating habits for children?
So, really, if you would have asked me this maybe even 6 months ago, I probably would have had a different answer. Um, and so I'm really starting to embrace the, well, first, let me take a step back. And so it's really eating from all the different food groups, enjoying, a balance, making sure you're getting what we call the macronutrients, your protein, your carbs, your fat, and your micronutrients. Those are going to be your vitamins and minerals. So really balancing those things. And sometimes with kids, it's tricky. So we do the best that we can. It's very common for kids to go through like phases where all they want to eat is one type of food. It happens. I usually tell parents don't be too alarmed. Make sure that they're eating well in other areas. Maybe even giving them a multivitamin if you think they're really lacking in certain areas. But what has become very important for me is really changing the narrative of how we look at food and nutrition. I find that even the nutrition standards are very, I'm going to say Eurocentric, that we're provided and we're told to eat this and not this because this is healthy and that's not healthy. And that's not really the case. We're seeing all these traditional foods from a lot of people. Now they've become trendy and they get expensive. So just to name a few, like avocados and quinoa and what else is popular that people in other places have been eating for many, many years. And so really embracing the foods from your culture is one of the things that I think is so important to have the kids know. Also, I like to get away from the narrative of good and bad. So, obviously we're teaching kids, and sometimes these kids are very young. And so the good and bad is something that they understand. But we take that, and as adults, it becomes like this guilt thing when we eat these foods. So really having the narrative that some foods do a lot for our body. So like broccoli, it provides fiber, it provides water content, it provides calcium, it provides vitamin C. It does a lot. Where something like cake, it doesn't do as much, but we don't want to call it bad because there's a time and place for it. At the very least, it provides energy. So really having them understanding those concepts so that everything can fit into its place. But our primary goal is to get those micronutrients, those vitamins and minerals, and those macronutrients, those protein, carbs, and fats into our diet in a balanced way.
That's a lot that you just put out.
Yes, it's a lot. And
So,
I'm sure parenting is a lot.
oh yeah, parenting. I mean, adulting is hard. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an adult so bad, and now I'm like, I wish I was little Margie, just having fun. But how do parents learn how to choose the right foods for the little kids?
Um, One, I would get them involved. And so a great starting point would be, just a standard dinner plate. Think of a standard dinner plate, and ask them, if you had a choice for a vegetable, and some children, they might be adverse to some of these things. And I get that. Don't give them a full portion. Like, if you're starting off with like a child that really doesn't like a specific group of foods, let's just say we're talking about string beans. Instead of giving them a serving of string beans, give them one. Like this pile of things can be overwhelming. It can be too much. So having them kind of be like, okay, I'm willing to try this. But I would start with a standard plate, and I would fill it up, with the foods that as adults we think that they should have. There's something called the division of responsibility. So as adults, it's our job to choose what, when, so like dinners at 6 or dinners at 7, and how. So, we eat dinner as a family at 6 and we sit at the kitchen table. This is the job of the adults to really do. And then it's the child's job to decide how much. Okay. And how much that they decide might be very different than what we think that they need to eat. And it might be none for a particular food. Okay. But the important thing is to not overwhelm, to start small, and not be so attached to a specific food. And so sometimes we think like you have to eat this. Well, what are other foods that provide that nutrient? Maybe they want to eat that food instead of this particular one. So being flexible is also going to be super important.
Okay, so being flexible and substituting will play a big role in having those healthy choices.
Well, now I will say that I'm not a short order cook. And so remember, it's the parents' responsibility to determine what. But like when you're shopping, this is a great opportunity to get the child's voice. And so you're not just at the dinner table and your child. I don't want anybody doing that. That's not fun for anybody. You don't want to serve dinner and then the kid be like, no, I want this instead. So I'm not proposing that. I'm saying when you're shopping, when you're planning, invite them. What would you like to eat this week? What vegetables would you like to try? Is there a vegetable that you remember? Did you see anything interesting in the grocery store that you might want to try? These are conversations where they feel involved. And then they're more likely to eat them. And once again, when you put them on the plate, don't give them an overwhelming amount, especially for new things.
Yeah. I feel you there. And, Rosamond, one of our guests, is saying that that is really good advice. Um, and Joyce is saying that yes, they need to eat for their energy. So thank you for sharing. Now, my next question is, sometimes when they're younger, you're able to manage some of these things more. So as they get older, for example, teenagers, they're also children. How do we
Mhm.
enforce the healthy eating amongst them?
So it definitely becomes more challenging. They spend more time outside of the home. And this is why I really love working with younger children, because hopefully by the time they are a little bit older, um, they'll have some of these things ingrained in them. And I feel like it's a lot like anything that there's probably things you and I were told when we were young, and we're just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then as you start to get older, you realize, oh, that's what my parents were talking about. So there might be years where the teenagers act like teenagers and don't make the best choices when they're outside of the house. But hopefully, as they start to realize the importance, they'll come back to it. And once again, when it comes to meal planning, I would get them involved. And so, instead of just buying whatever they want, saying, okay, we need to have more, whatever it is in your diet, vegetables, fruit, which ones would you like me to purchase so you can eat them? I really think that that's an important piece. I know I wasn't raised like that with a say in the food choices at all. But if we want to empower children to make smarter choices, then we have to include them in the conversation somewhat.
Um, yeah, that is true. If we're going to empower them, we have to include them in the conversation. I'm thinking that I have a son, and he started cooking, and so when he goes to the grocery store, he picks the stuff that he wants to cook, the stuff that he's seen on the internet for whatever recipe it is that he's trying to make. And so I guess I have to involve him more in these things. Thanks for the advice, because it may come naturally to you, but it doesn't come naturally to every parent to know exactly what to choose.
Right, right. And once again, this goes back to the things that you've heard of. It is definitely harder to put into action than just something intuitively. But the general rule that I typically tell my clients is I want you to think of the different food groups and make sure you have at least two, if not three, different food groups each time you sit down.
So
Go ahead.
you just mentioned your clients, and I
Mhm.
know that your website is staceywoodson.com. So when they go to staceywoodson.com, are they able to get in touch with you?
So they certainly can get in touch with me. I do a lot of like group work, but I do see a handful of clients individually, and certainly they can reach me at staceywoodson.com.
Well, viewers, it's on the ticker. Find Stacey at staceywoodson.com if you need more advice because we have such limited time. Now, Stacey, about your t-shirts, your melanated tees. Do you have any samples to show us?
Um, let's see here. I wasn't prepared for that. I have some book bags that aren't too far.
Okay. All right, viewers. Stacey just had to get up to get us to get some book bags to show us samples of her work. And then, oh my goodness, time flies. These conversations go by so fast. And then she's probably going to do a quick reading from her book so that we can get to learn more. Find Stacey at www.staceywoodson.com. She's out of Pennsylvania, but I believe that she will probably be able to ship the stuff to you. Here we go. Oh my goodness! Look
So
at those puffs.
I
Yes.
have, yeah, so I have some book bags, back to school season. I have this image on t-shirts and sweatshirts. So this is this was actually my original image that I came up with. And then I have the boy version as well. It's the only things that I really have handy.
Oh my goodness, Smart Boys Rock. That is amazing. And for boys, little boys of color to be called smart. I love that. I love that idea because we all know that there are these stereotypes out there. And so we have to claim it and we have to claim that excellence for our communities. So thank you so much for doing this, for being proactive and for being creative. Now, this is a personal question. Where do you get your creative juices from?
You know what? My main inspiration is my children, but other than that, I don't know. Like I just come up with an idea. Um, I really don't know. But they are always the impetus. So without them, I wouldn't have thought like I want shirts with images of children because that's why I wanted them, for them to wear, for them to have, to feel empowered.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Your children are blessed. Now, with your new book, do you have that handy as well?
I did when I got up, I figured you would ask, so I grabbed one of those too.
All right, girl, show us that cover. Oh my goodness, I love that. I love the head tie. Ooh, for the mama. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So, would you be kind to read a few pages for us?
Sure. This is one of my favorite pages. So, and I didn't, oh, sorry, I didn't specifically tell you that this book is based off of my family. I cannot get the camera right. But so this is us at the dinner table. Okay. And the main character, the picky princess, is Sloane. And Sloane's family became vegetarian, which means they do not eat meat. A few years ago, this was after Sloane refused to eat anything except for beans, butter, and blue corn chips. Now, she also eats bananas, bread, and broccoli, only if it's blanched. But that's it. Sloane's mom has had it. She's frazzled, frustrated, and furious by Sloane's finicky eating habits. Sloane's mother says there are lots of foods that are delicious and nutritious. Sloane is uninterested. So there's lots of alliterations. I'm going to read another one that has some of the fun alliterations that kids usually like. So I skipped a few pages. Tonight is Try Something New Tuesday, explained Sloane's dad. We're having quinoa and kale. People in South America commonly eat quinoa. In the United States, we consider it part of the grain food group, as many people eat quinoa instead of rice. However, it's really an edible seed. It's a good source of protein and rich in minerals such as manganese, which has several necessary functions in the body. Sloane was annoyed, aggravated, and appalled. Her parents actually thought she would eat quinoa. However, she smiled and softly stated, "No, thank you. Not today. No way."
We all have a little bit of Sloan in us.
So that's Sloane's tagline, no thank you, not today, no way. You see that a few times throughout the story.
Oh, well, I guess by the end of the story, Sloane had improved her eating habits.
We did. You guys will have to read it to figure out what happened to make this picky eater try a new food.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And I love your illustrations. I love the fact that I saw that the dad was wearing a dashiki, which is one of my favorites. So,
Yes.
yes, thank
So
you.
you're welcome. I was very intentional about the illustrations, once again, to affirm um, people that look like this, and also for those that might not look like this, to normalize seeing dashikis and head wraps and afro puffs as commonplace.
You know what, Stacey? You are so right. Because I have children's books as well. My first book, Sasha Goes to America, and my second children's book, Sasha Perseveres, and the third in the series, which is coming out this September, Sasha Dreams Big. And my goal was to show that representation. And also, you use that word normalize because when people think of immigration, like the first book, Sasha Goes to America, the little girl came from Ghana, West Africa. And so sometimes when people think of immigration, they just think of bad people, they think of illegal immigrants. So I wanted other people to see that there is a story behind every immigrant story. Some are documented, some may be undocumented. You don't even know if it's that person's fault or not. And in the second one, Sasha Perseveres, I wanted people to see that, Black girls were strong and that she was on the math team and she was a student leader. It's so important to show and affirm our kids so that they know that they really do matter.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
You're
Well,
welcome.
I cannot believe that our 25 minutes is up already. The time went by so fast. Look, we left that website on the ticker for a reason. Find Stacey at www.staceywoodson.com to our 300 plus city podcast audience. Stacey is spelled S as in Samuel, T as in Tom, A as in apple, C as in cat, E as in elephant, Y. Woodson is Woodson. Stacey Woodson. So find her. Her book is also available on Amazon. Is it available on Amazon?
It's available on Amazon and staceywoodson.com and everywhere their books are sold.
Everywhere books are sold. So check your local independent bookstore. If they don't have it, they can always order it and bring it in. This has been an amazing conversation with Stacey. All the healthy eating habits that we heard, I think it's applicable to adults as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, and before we go, Stacey, do you have any words or any advice for our viewers and listeners?
The one thing that I would say is that nutrition is not one size fits all. So please don't listen to your cousin, your brother, your whomever, your coworker. You really have to think about what your nutrition goals are and be in line with those. And always remember, trying new foods can be delicious and nutritious.
Ooh, I love that tagline.
That's
Trying new foods can be delicious and nutritious. Now we have Dayla out of North Carolina saying, very cute. I believe that came up maybe when the bags were out there. And when you were reading, Rosie said, wow, great cover and illustrations. They love the book bags. You've got a lot of love. You've got a lot of love, Stacey. And
thank you.
so yes, yes. Guys, find out more about Stacey. Support her work. This has been Humanity Chats with Margie. And as always, we are here for you. We come to you on Thursdays talking about everyday issues that impact humans. Thanks to everyone who joined us today. If you'd like to learn more, you know what? We are available on all the major podcasts. So listen, give us a rating if you like what you hear. Learn more also at margiemarch.com. If you want to read about Stacey, you can find that there. You can find out about our numerous guests who have been on the show. And hey, subscribe to Margie TV on YouTube. We would love that, and give us that 5-star rating wherever you see us. We are so grateful to everybody who keeps joining us. We just have conversations about everyday issues that impact humans. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks to Innovation Abound. Please know that all opinions expressed in this conversation are the views of the participants, and that's us. We'd like to give the Margie TV team a shout out for their support. And from Stacey Woodson of Pennsylvania and Margie March of South Carolina, we say good night, and we will see you next week with some amazing guests.